As a young child, LaSundra witnessed something that left a very strong impression. A ghost who felt completely comfortable in the apartment. My name is Edwin. Here's a true scary story.
Basically, when I was 7 years old, we lived in this apartment complex called the Oaks apartment. This apartment complex is located in Temple, Texas. So it's crazy how I remember it. We were living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and the apartment number was 602. It was, at the time, it was just 3 of us. My older sister, which was 9, I was 7, and then my younger sister, which was 5 at the time. My mom was pregnant with my baby sister. My dad was an over-the-road truck driver, so basically he would kind of dip in and dip out, but he wouldn't be at home like consistently because of his job. So at this point, my mom, she would basically do everything that she needed to do for us. So this particular morning, she got us up, cooked breakfast, sat us down at the table. We were eating, and of course she gave us the whole spiel, don't answer the door, don't answer the phone. If you need anything, basically, my work number so you guys can call. So hugged and kissed her. She left, locked the door. Once we were done eating, we kind of just went over to the living room to watch cartoons. The way this apartment was made, again, it was a 2-bedroom. So our room was like on the right side of the apartment. But to get there, it was kind of like in the living room, they had like a sectional. And so with this sectional, you had to walk around it to get out of the living room. So we were sitting there watching TV, maybe about two hours, I guess. And then I told my older sister, hey, I got to go to the bathroom. So she was like, okay. So I get up and I'm walking around the sectional. And the way the apartment was made, the second bedroom was kind of tucked in kind of like a little hallway. So our room was to the right and the bathroom was immediately to the left. So it was maybe like a 4 or 5 foot hallway. So as I'm walking, I get around the couch and then I get right by the dining room table, which maybe is about, 6 feet from the hallway. I didn't hear any doors slam. I didn't hear any lights switch on or off. But a man came out of our room. So at this point, I'm like, who is that? So he's walking out and I see him. So of course I stop and he stops and he's just kind of standing there. Initially, he was looking straight forward, and then he turns his head and he's looking directly at me. So we're just kind of staring at each other. It seemed like I was there it seemed like forever. We were just staring at each other. And then he just kind of looked away, looked right back straight, and just walked in the bathroom. And so my sisters are looking at me. They don't see what I see, but they're looking at me. So, of course, I turn around, walk back around, and sit right back down on the couch. And my older sister was like, why didn't you go to the bathroom? What were you staring at? And I said, it's a man in there. That was the last thing we said. We were terrified. Like, we were so afraid. Like, my older sister didn't even want to get up and call my mom because the phone was like on the other end of like the apartment. So we sat there, and then my mom got home probably around like 3 or 4. Nobody moved. Like, we were in the same spot. The station that we were watching, we didn't even change the channel. We were just terrified. My mom came in, and of course we get up and we're like, oh my God, she's like, what's going on? I'm like, I saw a man, he went in the bathroom. So of course my mom is like, she's terrified. So she's like, I'm not going in there. So she called my dad's job and was like, hey, do you guys know about what time he's going to be home? And they were like, yeah, he should be on his way now, which was a coincidence because we hadn't seen him in a few days. So we knew he was about to come. So when my dad gets there, I think he probably got there a couple hours after my mom did. So my mom was like, hey, she said she saw a man in the bathroom. We hadn't even been in there. So of course my dad goes in our room first and he's like looking around. He was like, nothing has been touched in there. So then he goes to the restroom. And he was like, literally nothing has been touched in here. And so I told him, I was like, I saw a man come out of our room and go in the bathroom. And he was like, yeah, nobody's in there. I was like, I don't want to go back in that room. Again, I was 7. So this guy was a grown man. He had to been maybe mid-20s, early 30s. He looked like he was probably about my dad's height. My dad is about 6'2", 6'2 and a half. He had like an athletic build. If I could describe his body, like he wasn't a fat man, but he wasn't super skinny. Like he had like pecs, and you could kind of see like his stomach was a bit toned. He had blonde hair and he had like blue eyes, but his hair, it wasn't like shaved, but it wasn't long. It was just like enough that you could like that's what it looked like. He would just run his fingers through his hair. And whenever he stood there, he kind of stood like with his chest out and kind of like his arms, like, kind of like when you turn to the side, that's exactly how he looked. He didn't have any shoes on. He looked like he was about to go take a shower. He didn't have any facial hair. So to me, he looked like a pretty young man, but he was blonde hair, blue eyes. So of course they switched rooms with us. And they moved us into their bedroom. Eventually, my mom had my little sister, my baby sister, and we moved into another house. And then that happened when I was 7. So when I was about 14 or 15, I played basketball. So we went on an overnight basketball tournament. We were sitting around just telling ghost stories, just how teenagers do. So we were telling ghost stories. And so I started telling this story to my teammates. And one of my teammates stopped me, and she was like, did he look like this? Like, she described his hair, his eye color, his body build. She was like, he had a white towel wrapped around his waist like he was about to go take a shower. And we just stared at each other. Like, I couldn't move until he turned away, and then I could move. Described his hair, described his body build, his eyes. And she was like, yeah, he had a white towel wrapped around his waist. And she was like, yeah, we lived in the Oaks apartments around that time. And I said, well, we were in apartment 602. And she was like, well, we were in the same building. We lived in that same building. But she was like, I saw the same guy do the same exact thing that he did to you. I knew he was real, but I couldn't see through him. Like, I couldn't see the wall through him. But I knew that he wasn't real, if that makes sense. You know how it kind of looks kind of fuzzy sometimes? That's what he looked like. But I was like, I know nobody's in there. I know no one is in there. And I was like, as I got older, I was like, nah, this had to have been something that you were making up. But it's like, even thinking back at 37, I can see this guy. And I'm like, and I back then I used to say, oh God, it looked kind of like a powder vision, like it was kind of fuzzy. Back then, that apartment complex may have been 10, 12 years old, maybe older, because they're still standing in my hometown of Temple, Texas. They're still there. Yeah, I mean, it was just a very normal apartment complex, you know? At that time, I didn't know what to think, but my older mind now thinks, man, like this could have been somebody that maybe committed suicide, or maybe he was coming to visit a girlfriend, or, you know, something happened to him. But I think whatever happened to him happened in the bathroom. If you believe in heaven or hell, you know, you kind of have to believe in angels and demons. Yeah, I do believe that ghosts are real. My belief is that when a soul is at unrest, or if they weren't satisfied with how they met their demise, then I feel like they come back to try to make it right. As far as my family members, my sisters and my parents, they said that at one time in their lives that they have seen, you know, ghosts or apparitions or weird things that they can't explain. But they all, I mean, we're all kind of collectively like, yeah, that was definitely, even my dad was like, yeah, I think you saw a ghost.
True Scary Story is produced by me, Edwin Covarrubias. If you have a true scary story you want to share, visit truescarystory.com and get in touch. As we collect stories from you, we are beginning to notice something. Those who have witnessed paranormal encounters are sometimes bound to repeat them. LaSundra is no exception and has another story that is coming up in another episode of True Scary Story. Are you following this podcast on Spotify or on your podcast app? You won't want to miss this episode. Until next time, thank you very much for listening.